I'd like to call the Tuesday, July 16th, 2019 Oldsmar City Council meeting to order. The first couple items on our agenda is the invocation and pledge of allegiance to the flag. However, I'd ask everyone to stand, and I'd like to just have a moment of silence. We lost a former council member recently, Ed Manning, and so if you humor me, just keep them in your prayers. And we had the services today, and he's the guy who contributed a lot to this city. To lead us in our invocation and pledge of allegiance will be our city attorney, Mr. Tom Trask.
Our Heavenly Father, send down your blessing on this meeting of the City Council and upon the individual members who comprise it. Give the council members a clear sense of duty and lead them to a faithful discharge of the same. Direct them in their deliberations at this meeting so that all things may be done to the glory of thy name and the welfare of the people of Oldsmar. This we pray.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As we start the meeting, you'll notice that there is a person missing up here. Councilmember McGee is on an excused absence for work. So we're trying to get a lot of important things voted on tonight. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. All right, the next item on our agenda is the Citizens Open Forum. Only a couple of rules to it. Number one, when you get up, if you would give your complete name and address, including city and state and zip code. Item 13 is actually a public hearing, which means that we'd ask that you hold your comments till we get to that item, if there's any comments you have on it. Outside of that, you have 5 minutes, and unless it's some ugly, you're welcome to speak about anything. I'll start over on this side of the room. Anybody? Man, this is such a good audience tonight. How about this side over here? Outstanding. We're gonna have a good meeting tonight. All right, the next item on the agenda is the community minute. It'll be the announcements were made by our city clerk, Ann Nixon.
The Purple Heart Monument dedication and ceremony is Wednesday, August 7th at 11 o'clock a.m. at Veterans Park.
Today.
Alert Pinellas. You know, recently we had that the boil water notice, and if you didn't get a notice, it's because you're not registered with our system. So make sure you sign up for Alert Pinellas, and you can do that from myoldsmar.com. And that Alert Pinellas replaced Code Red, Alert Pinellas. Also, if you happen to be sitting around, you're like, oh, you know, I can't make it to the library, but I don't want to go outside, it's too hot. They have a lot of resources. So if you go to oldsmarlibrary.org, research and learn, all sorts of databases are at your fingertips. They have Access World News, which has archives including Tampa Bay Times, Chilton Auto Repair, Fold3, which is the military information like Ancestry.com, Gale databases, which provides access to several journals, and local assistance finder. So if you're like, oh, how can I help somebody? If you go to the local assistance finder, they have resources in the area that can help those in need. There you go.
Outstanding, thank you. The next item on the agenda is approval of addition of new item agendas. We have new items 1, 12, and 14. Does anyone wish to pull anything for discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the new items. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item on the agenda, awards and recognitions. Let us have our city manager, Mr. Al Braithwaite, for his presentation. Go ahead and give him applause. Come on, he worked hard. He worked hard. And no one applauds him. Look at him. Hi, good to see you.
Hi, how are you? I'm the governor.
He's appointed, you're not elected, so.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
We have 2 service awards tonight, and the first one I'd like to ask to come up is a 15-year service award for Neil Toll. Neil, you want to come up? Congratulations. You get a little support section over there. Young lady, how are you? Congratulations, here's your service award. Here's the check. All righty, congratulations, Neil. We got to show the picture.
Yeah.
Does it? Yeah. Yeah, 15 years ago. You look confused. I can tell you now, he's not confused anymore. In our system, I always say this, he's employee number 295. Means nothing other than he's the 295th person we hired since we had the system. Charlie Lee is number 3, frame of reference, sorry. Okay, as you know, I do a little homework in personnel files, and I found a few interesting things about Neil's background. He's originally from Elba, New York. You can't say anything. Anybody know where that is? Largest suburban surrounding area, anybody?
Buffalo.
Buffalo, that's right.
Yeah.
Genesee County. So I thought back from college days, because, okay, I drank a little, Jenny Cream, Jenny Ale was from that neighborhood, and I guess it's from Rochester, so I struck out there. But I did find that Elba, New York is known as the onion capital of the world. Fun facts. Oh, do I have to use the mic? Really?
You need it for the recording.
Yeah, we don't record me, that's a good thing. Anyway, just had a birthday, July 11th. It was a big one. Congratulations. You want to tell everybody which one it was?
58.
Wow.
It was 2 years bigger than that. You guys can do the math. Anyway, Neil was hired as a groundskeeper in the Parks Department on July 12, 2004. He was promoted to an equipment operator in March 2005. Didn't even take a year. Promoted to a heavy equipment operator in Public Works in April 2006. Barely more than another year, been promoted twice. This one I remember, he was also promoted in 2007, and I call it gutty volunteering more than a promotion that he probably wanted. I vehemently remember discussions that finance had with the then city manager, my boss, Bruce Haddock, about starting our own recycling operation. And the conversation generally went like this. We were begging and pleading for him not to do that because it was a financial disaster and it was difficult on many levels. So, of course, Bruce took our advice and we were doing it very shortly after that. Neil was the good guy that was responsible for or willing to take a shot at becoming what we called the sanitation driver operator. Now, I can tell the rest of this, or you can, but here's what I remember. We spent $110,000 on a vehicle, first vehicle we had in the solid waste fund. And I'm going to use Gull Air as the example because this is where the job became the least amount of fun. One person on the truck. Occasionally, you might have had a second one. There's the one guy on the truck. And if you remember in Gull Air, a lot of the units are very close to each other. And the original truck, you had to sort the recyclables right then and there and put them in the right bin in the truck. So here's what he had to do for over a year, I believe. He went 10 feet, stopped the truck, got out, got to the recyclables, went to the truck, sorted them, put it back, got back in the truck, went another 10 feet, stopped the truck, get back. Now, can you say back injury? I mean, that's the worst job you could possibly do in municipal government. I promise you that. I've got plenty of experience in many of those. This is the guy that was willing to do it. Now, as you all know, we now have single stream recycling, so we eventually got smart and stopped doing that. But Neil was the only guy we had that was willing to take that on. And I think he knew he was in for it probably the first day. Yeah. So anyway, we want to thank him for that. He deserves an award for that no matter what else he does here. Okay, so after that experience, he transferred back to being a heavy equipment operator in parks again, very intelligently. And somewhere I lost track of the file. I think you went back to leisure services or back to public works somewhere again? Okay, because I got lost in the file, which is not unlike me. So here in one of his major accomplishments on his evaluation, his supervisor at the time said he completed a certified archery course. That true? What was the purpose of that?
Just teach kids.
You were going to teach? Good. Well, about teaching kids, when it was listed as a major accomplishment, I was like, really? We apparently had some use for it, and he did it. That kind of typifies what Neil's about. Neil's about, what do you need? What do you need done? You call up Neil, he does it. And that's the greatest thing about our employees. But what he's done in the 15 years he's been is probably about everything. So even though I'm only giving you a couple of highlights, I think it's a real tribute to the kind of guy he is, because he's put himself in harm's way, he's put himself in danger's way. There's nobody in their right mind that wants to do recycling that way. And he did it, never complained, showed up to work every day. So we're grateful for all that. One of his commendations in the file was, I noted, from Tony Gross. And Tony, very complimentary about Neil's ability to answer questions, his demeanor. He actually followed up with some equipment they wanted on the same day in a couple of hours, and they were very impressed by that. That just caught my eye, not necessarily because it was Tony Gross, but the extent to which he wrote of all the things he did that we want in our citizens' engagement. It was just, you couldn't ask a guy to do more than he actually did, and he exceeds expectations all the time. Here's the other cool things. He won the City Manager's Impact Award for work completed in the second half of 22, and he's a two-time winner of the Homer Brunson Schreckengost Award in November 13 and June of 2018. So that's a guy that you know is doing the job to get rewarded and recognized for those things. And I'm guessing the smiley guy over there probably nominated him for one or two of them. He was promoted again to lead groundskeeper in July of 2017. He's still now in leisure services, or back to leisure services, I'm not sure. Neil is proof that a good attitude and being reliable are the keys to having a successful career. Congratulations, Neil, on 15 years of dedicated service to the city. We thank you for all you've given to helping making this the great city it is. I look forward to another 15 and hope you do as well. Okay, maybe 10. Congratulations. The check.
Now there's a smile.
It's gone already.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on.
It's going to be a tough one.
I have to, first of all, I'm begging for your indulgence. This will all make sense in a minute. Neil, I also have to apologize to you because the young lady that we're going to pull up here now, I've been working directly with for 20 years. And while I'm known for being somewhat verbose, so you're either lucky or I'm sorry now, because I don't want to downplay your accomplishments, but I wanted to give this my all. I actually titled this, and she hates it, which is one of the things I like about it. I call this Long Live the Queen. She hates that I call her that, which of course is part of the fun of it.
Picture.
For 20 years.
Yay! It was the
Now,
90s.
in case you guys can't tell, that's Cindy Neno. Cindy, you want to come up? You want to come up, Cindy? It's Cindy's 20th anniversary. I figured I was going to get kicked for that one, so.
10.
Yeah, I figured if I get any closer, she's going to kick me for that one, but okay. Ryan, take good notes of that one. Yeah. We'll get you copies if you'd like. But then, you were maybe 6 months old. Is that close? You were a year old in that. You can use that. Leverage it against mom, I promise you. All right. Oh, sorry, son. You probably cut the check.
She got the check to herself. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to have fun with this, but this is serious. Trust me. I said I call this Long Live the Queen. Rob Ryan, if you're welcome to join us if you'd rather not, or wait to the end. All right. All right. Cindy is currently the Director of Administrative Services. She was hired as a senior accountant on July 7th, 1999. She applied for my job, which was the finance administrator, when I was hired 3 months later on October 11th, 1999. I was told that she had, so I was cautious about being her boss. Little did I know what she would bring to the department, the organization, and the entire community. For the 20 years that followed, I certainly found out, and the best way to describe it is, wow. She was promoted 4 times that I can remember. Senior accountant to accounting supervisor, then to accounting supervisor / application specialist. We made that one up to take advantage of her incredible skills. Then to finance administrator, then to director of administrative services, which she holds now. I've done every one of her evaluations for 20 years, and I think I've only ever given her 2 grades of less than excellent in any category during that entire time. And then only to try and present the thought that there was something higher to strive for, which is something that we were taught by our first boss together as teammates, Marnie Burns. The backbone of all organizations in the age of technology is finance, predominantly because of the enterprise resource planning system, which, get ready for this list, encompasses payroll, accounts payable, accounts receivables, permitting, budget, personnel, financial reporting, general ledger, utility billing, fixed assets, global work orders, cash handling, benefits administration, and I'm sure I missed a couple of other important features. Every decision made by City Council affects finance in some way. Every transaction, cash exchange, accounting entry, grant award, or compliance requirement affects finance. The rarest souls in the professional world are the people that possess the knowledge required to excel in all of these fields. There has never been another person I've known that does a better job of excelling in all these fields than she does. The best news of all, she's on our team. I wouldn't want her to be not on my team. And she has been for 20 years. People that understand technology and the intricacies of finance can make a lot of money if they have the aptitude for the technology, they pay attention to the details, and they have patience for the rest. That list of people is getting shorter as the technology part gets more and more specialized and the finance part more restricted by legislation and mandates. Keeping up means catching up too much of the time. I've been accused by some of too freely using superlatives, to which I will plead guilty on occasion. However, in my most sincere and humble opinion, I submit to you that Cindy Neno is the most valuable person this organization has ever employed. She selflessly persists in keeping us current in all of our processes and has almost single-handedly improved every process that we perform, many times in spite of my objections, me being a dinosaur and all. Heck, in a few cases, she's improving some processes that she's already improved once before. And in fact, I'll bet she's thinking of what we have to improve next right now. Our administrative services staff has infinite capabilities. And while that fact makes us all look better, most of those talented souls are here because Cindy has a sense about people that is uncanny. With all the employees we've interviewed together, I learned quickly that trusting her instincts has provided us with outstandingly skilled employees that we have, and even better, great character people. Examples such as Swinkler, I get some credit for that one. Debs, Ratliff, Zeliff, Doherty, who's now Farrelly, Dauphiné, Schulte, Woodring, and more recently, Kutch and Potts. I'm sure I missed a few, but we are as strong as we have ever been because of her spidey sense. Okay, a little history. When she first arrived back in July of 1999, our bank reconciliations were not getting done at all. And after outsourcing that to a local CPA firm, they weren't getting done correctly. In her first 3 months, she caught up on over a year's worth of bank recs before I ever got here. Shortly thereafter, she learned how to use all the features of the report writer in our ERP system, which is also known to us as ADG, the brand name, and then proceeded to write approximately 200 of our first customized system reports over the next year. Most of them are still used by us today. Starting to get the picture? Okay, let's talk about her accounting knowledge. In the 20 years she has been here, we have never, knock on wood, had an audit finding of significant deficiency or material weakness. I bet you had trouble. I would bet you'd have trouble finding another agency that can say that. And for the non-technical crowd, what that means is the annual audit always comes back clean. How many Wall Street firms can say that even once? In her current position, she's also directly responsible for information technology. And while no one doubts that Adam, Bill, Wes, and Ivan know more about IT than we do, Cindy has become the first department director who has enough IT aptitude to actually know what Adam is talking about when he gets all technical. That's bigger than you think, since everything runs electronically now. Our IT people are great, but it helps everyone when you are explaining things to a boss that may actually know what you're talking about. She's also the reason we've achieved our first GFOA budget award, which we've now received for 4 or 5 years in a row. I could spend an hour talking about how much work goes into the capital, proposed, and final budget documents, but once you see this year's budget book, I won't have to say another word. You will instantly see what I mean. She's also ultimately responsible for human resources. This requires different kinds of oversight, but the two things that are most important and get the least amount of attention are benefits administration and collective bargaining. She is now the chief negotiator for management and collective bargaining, and is the primary authority in our decision-making for how best to deliver benefits. Oh yeah, I forgot. She's also the city administrative liaison to the Firefighter Pension Board and the city representative in litigation involving the organization. And just in case you thought she was getting lazy, she's also the latest outgoing president of the FGFOA Gulf Coast chapter, of which Ratliff is now the president, and co-chair of the innovation team with Felicia. The list just keeps going on and on. Since I used to be responsible for most of what's on this list, I am partially confessing something that Cindy and I have talked about many times. Each time I've been promoted, she's been promoted to my previous position. When we look back at the organization afterwards, which we often do, the fact is that replacing me was always the easier part. The real problem was every time we had to replace her, that was the hard part. She improves everything as soon as she takes it over. And if you want proof of that, just compare the budgets that I've done to the ones that she's put out. She has a difficult time replacing her talent level every time she gets promoted. So describing the endless list of her strengths is in some ways an admission of my endless list of weaknesses. I've said this many times and she hates hearing it, which gives me some degree of joy. I owe the last 20 years of my career success to her. She is far and away the greatest teammate one could ever hope for. And the amazing thing of it all, after almost 20 years of being her direct boss, she still talks to me. She is nothing short of brilliant, possesses the greatest combination of skills you can have in this line of work. Great technological aptitude, accounting and finance knowledge. She also possesses the greatest combination of character traits you can have in an employee and in a leader. Quiet confidence. She's more interested in others' success than her own. Loyal, a great confidant, and best of all, totally unflappable. I consider her to be my smarter little sister. Yes, we fight. And like all smarter little sisters, she's a pain in my... But I've learned over the past 2 decades that I'm smarter when I listen to her. Unfortunately for Cindy, her husband Rob and I have close to or the same birthday, so I'm told our moods tend to run parallel. Man, she just can't get any peace. If I'm in a bad mood that day, she knows what she's walking into when she gets home, and vice versa, I suspect. She spends an average of 10 hours a day in the office, and in her spare time, I'm kidding, she doesn't have any, she is the administrator for her husband's business. I'm not kidding about that, if you can believe it. The best way I can sum it up is this: no matter what else goes right or goes wrong in the running of this organization, as long as she still works here, we'll be fine. I believe that more than anything I have ever said about an employee, and if you think I'm kidding, feel free to read the 20 evaluations I've done on her work. She really is that good. And even better, she doesn't care if anybody knows. Once in a lifetime, or in this case, a career, you are blessed with an employee that makes everyone better at what they do and makes everyone better than they would be by themselves. I keep telling my staff this about outside professional relationships and have done so for a long time. When you find somebody that truly gets it, hang on to them for dear life. It's also true internally. When you find people that truly get it, hang on to them any way you can. For my career, Cindy is that person. The fact that she is actually nice to be around makes it all seem too good to be true. Congratulations, sis, on achieving this milestone anniversary. I hope to be a thorn in your side for at least another 10 years, if you'll let me and council will have me. You should never do anything else because you're the best there has ever been at doing what you do. I hope Felicia is the next manager because she already knows what you mean to our success. I know you don't want to be a city manager, but you shouldn't be anyway because then you'd have to replace yourself for the third time. Congratulations. Robin, Ryan.
And smile. I can't actually see the way that you look like, so I just keep going. No, but Rob, you smile again.
Yeah, I did want to say, Al, all those things that you listed, you read out, you were either telling me to do them or you were encouraging me or putting up with it. So I just want to thank you for that. I want to thank the council for giving us such a great city. Our staff meeting Monday morning, Garrett actually asked me, you know, what was the best thing, what kept me here for 20 years, and it really is the people. We have a fantastic team. It just keeps getting better. I couldn't ask for a better group of people to work with. So thank you very much to everyone. When I came here, I was looking for an easy job for a couple years while Ryan was a baby. And,
I'm not.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, congratulations to both of you. And I'll tell you, Dan, you should have taken my bet. I was betting him $1 up here that Al would cry before it was over.
Yeah.
But he didn't take the action, so.
I knew there was a bet.
Yeah, there was a bet.
He almost broke it.
He almost broke. I saw it. Well, that's
Wonderful
wonderful.
presentation.
Yeah, very, very nice. All right, moving on. Community Redevelopment Agency, item number 2, approval of minutes from June 27, 2019 work session for Town Center follow-up meeting. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item number 3, scheduled work session for Town Center discussion. The first meeting, if you've gone through the detail on it, the first meeting, of course, is for the purpose of getting presentations from the city manager. I'm assuming it will be from you. Yes?
On the 13th, the one between the meetings?
Never mind, he's gonna cry. Never mind. Felicia?
Yes.
No. So anyhow, the purpose of the first meeting, as you all know, is to have an opportunity to hear in more detail what proposals we've received for downtown. And the second meeting is an ongoing work session to kind of evaluate next steps and so forth. So if I understand correctly, on the first meeting, there was a consensus on August 13th. Is that accurate?
Accurate for me.
Well, that is the Florida League of Cities Conference, and I'm leaving Tuesday.
You're leaving Tuesday, and what's that fall on?
Didn't you say you could make it earlier?
I can make it
In the
early. Can
day?
you do 9 o'clock?
day?
I know you can.
I don't know if I
The
can.
proposed time is 4 o'clock.
Hold on.
The other one I don't have a problem with, the Monday, August 19th. That's not a problem.
I don't have
Or
a
if we
problem
could
with
do,
either of them.
or if we could do 1 o'clock even.
Let me see if I can do one. Hold on.
If there's a consensus to schedule it earlier in the day on the 13th, I can make it work,
Okay,
Thank you.
if that
all right. Well, then why don't
I
we
can do
do,
1 o'clock on the 13th.
How about 9?
I can't do 9.
all right, so 1 o'clock, can you do 1?
I can do 1. Can you do 1
one?
though?
Yes.
Okay,
All
go.
right, so let's do this. Let's say we're gonna go with 1 o'clock, and if we have a problem, we'll punt, okay?
Check with
Well, we'll
Right.
just have to make
Mickey.
sure with Cabby.
Yep. All right, so
13th at 1.
the 13th at 1 o'clock in the council chambers. The second meeting, we had some variety dates. If I'm not mistaken, we kind of came down on 2, August 21st or August 22nd.
for August 22nd.
I'm good with both.
Dan?
Hold on, sorry. August 21st. Oops.
I won't be able to do the 22nd if you need.
You
me.
cannot do the
I have
22nd.
City Commission meeting in
What
Dunedin.
time on
So
August?
now we're looking at the 21st.
Yeah, I can do 4 PM on August 21st, yes.
It's a yes for me. Yes.
I will have to cancel something, but I can make it work.
All right.
21 at 4 PM.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, consent docket. Does anybody wish to pull anything? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent docket as presented.
Yep, so moved.
Oh, hold on. We should actually read these items. I did this once before. Our city clerk will read the consent docket.
Item number 4, approve minutes of June 18, 2019 City Council meeting. Item number 5, approve minutes of July 2nd, 2019 City Council meeting. Item number 6, approve payment to legal counsel for June 2019 legal services. And item number 7, accept resignation of Dale Rembier from the Board of Adjustment.
Very good. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Now so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Next item on the agenda, City of Oldsmar, item number 8, reappointment of Dale Bonjour.
Renbuer.
You have that N in there.
Renbuer.
For the Board of Adjustments. He is not here. I think you all saw his email. As some of the audience may or may not know, typically we don't require a reappointment to appear before council. We do with new potential candidates. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Well, welcome back, sir. City Attorney.
I have one item on the agenda tonight, and that's Resolution 2019-10, reestablishing the Leisure Services Advisory Board. I'm going to go ahead and read that resolution by title only. Resolution 2019-10, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, reestablishing the Leisure Services Advisory Board, modifying the number of board members and quorum requirement, requiring observed concerns to be reported to the Director of Leisure Services, repealing Resolution 2018-05 and providing for an effective date hereof. You'll note in section number 2, we're changing the number of members from 9 to 7. In section 4 of the resolution, we're changing the quorum from 5 to 4. And in section 6, we've added a sentence that says, in addition, the board shall report observed concerns to Director of Leisure Services rather than to wait for board meetings. Those are the changes to the prior resolution, and it's here for your consideration.
All right, at this time, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2019-10.
So moved, Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to commend whoever worked on this, the efficiency in which this got done. I mean, we were just talking about this a few meetings ago.
Yeah, very
So,
nice.
It was our clerk and our city attorney.
City attorney?
So congratulations. Any other discussion?
I hope it's effective in correcting some of the issues that the board has had.
I hope so too, and I also feel like, I know there seems to be some displeasure about putting those meetings online, all of our meetings, but, you know, that's something that a lot of our citizens want. And quite honestly, as a city, we're kind of falling behind the times because other places, other cities are doing it in real time. And so in any event, I think a combination of that, we'll see how it goes. And if not, like I said the other night, it's our responsibility. Nobody else is on that board. And so we will definitely take responsibility if it's not. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Thank you. City Manager. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 10 is approve an interlocal agreement between Forward Pinellas and the City of Oldsmar, Florida for planning and placemaking grant pilot program funding. This interlocal agreement provides $25,000 in funding through the Forward Pinellas Planning and Placemaking Grant Pilot Program for the creation of a feasibility study. The study will determine the feasibility and a specific industry sector focus for the proposed Top of the Bay Innovation Center, or what we call TOBIC. It is estimated that the study will cost $50,000, so the remaining fund would be funded by the City of Oldsmar. The funding is available in the CRA fund, and staff recommends approval. I'm ready to answer any questions council may have.
Well, the chair's hoping to get a motion to table for the purpose of discussion.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
You know, when we came up with this plan, it was really kind of tailored around downtown, specifically a combination opportunity to create that center and frankly, to help fund for parking. We also thought economically that there might be an opportunity with the governor leaving office and the money that was still in the budget for, I believe it was Enterprise Florida, was it? It was Enterprise Florida. And of course, that window came and went, and the opportunity was not what we thought it might be. I think that it makes sense for us to lay this on the table for now and see if there might be some other more, there's no place to put it right now, based on our plans for downtown, right? And so I think spending $25,000 in matching funds for something that we don't even have a place to put it right now probably is not the best use of that money. I predict that there likely will be that opportunity somewhere else. We're just not sure where it's at yet as a team. And so I'd rather lay it on the table for now. I don't know what that does to us with Forward Pinellas. It probably takes us, clearly would take us out of their budget year. But likewise, Forward Pinellas would probably appreciate the fact that it's not realistic right now, and they probably wouldn't want to spend the $25,000 either. So that's my reason for it, suggesting we table it for now. We can bring it off the table at any time and maybe modify it as we find an opportunity, but it just doesn't seem to make like a good expenditure based on where we're at right now. Comments?
My question would be, would that be without penalty, first of all? Would it, like, if we say no, is it gone? So is it, if we table it and say we don't want it, so Al's shaking his head no, as in no, we would have a penalty. If we say no, then it's gone.
Do you want to speak to that?
Assistant City Manager Felicia Donnelly.
Felicia Donnelly. The money in this budget year would be gone, but there would be other opportunities. This is an annual funding program.
Okay, so that's like without penalty then, because we could always apply for it
No
again.
penalty at all.
And if we were more into our downtown development. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilmember Saraki, any comments?
Mayor, I actually think your position on this is actually good because I agree. We really don't have a place to put this just yet. And didn't we approve this last year? As it's a year, I think we do it every year.
Well, I think actually what transpired last year is as we do often, we kind of walked it slowly down the path. We hadn't gotten to this point yet. We approved the concept, if I'm not mistaken. Was it the agreement?
No, it was the concept for the plan, with the idea being we were going to attempt to submit it to the governor. So it was really kind of an approval for the submitting of the report.
Right.
Am I close? You had that look like I'm not close. What was
No,
it?
that's correct. We also, as part of the grant application, we were required to include a resolution that gave authorization to apply for the grant. So Al is completely right, but we added that, another part to that.
Okay. Councilmember Gannon.
Logistical question. I understood this to be a feasibility study, which wouldn't necessarily result in it being feasible. So we wouldn't need a place to put it if that turned out to be the case. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, the grant money was to do a feasibility study to figure out whether or not this is a good idea, if this is possible.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Here's actually what as part of that grant application, we proposed where we think it should go.
A physical location.
As well as, as well as, I don't know if we actually had a site plan or we had we had some renderings that we submitted, and so, and a location as well. And so in our application process, the information that was in it would have suggested we were looking at putting it in downtown.
Okay.
And so, now that's not to say that that door couldn't be open in the future, but the way it was put in that application is not the direction this council's gone in. This council is, and you know, I'll just say this. The feasibility study, you know, a lot of feasibility studies, you spend $50,000, guess what? It's pretty feasible when they come back.
If you do X, Y, Z, and here's the rest of the list.
Right. And so,
Sure.
having said that, that sounds good, but the economics of what it would have cost to create that center and us pay for that was not realistic unless we had the opportunity with the governor, and this was with Governor Scott when he was leaving, and that window closed, and therefore, you know, it's not, for us, it's probably not the best approach right now. I mean.
Is the effect of tabling it killing the idea of Tobic entirely, or just
I don't think so.
putting it off?
It's just saying we're not approving spending, entering into the agreement and spending the $25,000 at this point.
Okay.
And honestly, it doesn't even take it out of the budget for that matter. That would still be in the budget at that point, our $25,000.
Okay, so I have a couple more questions. One, this would be after the feasibility study, and it says that it's feasible to do it. This is a center that the city would be funding? The Tobic, it would be something that we would fund? This isn't any kind of private partnership, private-public partnership? This is something the city would be funding?
I don't believe that we've created that or answered that question. We were more looking at the physical location, the cost of building a physical location,
Okay, gotcha,
and that
gotcha.
type of
And
thing.
since it's not in any of the plans that we're working on right now,
None of
that's
the
the
plans.
basis of your.
It's not the shared workspace, it's not that.
Okay, and then one last question. Having written grants before and knowing how difficult it is to get grants, is there a, like, cumulative effect? Like, if we get this grant, does it help us get other grants? And I guess that might be a question for Al.
Yeah, Al's happy to, you're welcome to take it. He's happy to take it, I just spoke for him.
Could.
Because that's why I'm just kind of on the fence on this
If you
one so
if
far.
you remember back to the long-term transportation plan, the long-term transportation plan was a factor in us getting the Complete Streets grant. So of course that's possible. This whole thing was Felicia Donnelly's energy and effort, because Representative Grant sat with us and said, hey, the governor might be in a situation where the enterprise Florida money could be available. And he actually helped us shape what it was going to look like. She went back to the drawing board, created what we called Tobic. We never got the chance to submit it to the governor. She took it upon herself to see there was another grant program from Florida Forward Pinellas. We submitted it. It's not conventional for what they normally award. They loved it, so they awarded us one of 3 of the grants. If we did it, it could. But to the mayor's point, we don't have any idea what we're doing with it right now. It was literally just a sit down with Representative Grant with a bunch of ideas that she turned into a vision.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions? Sensen, you're ready to vote. There's a motion on the floor and seconded to table. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Did you vote, Councilman?
I oppose.
You're opposed to tabling it?
Yes.
Okay. Then I vote, excuse me, let's do a roll call.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Councilmember Saraki?
No.
Councilmember Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Seidel?
Yes, motion passes. Next item on the agenda, item 11, oh, I'm sorry, it's yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 11 is authorize the city manager to certify a proposed millage rate of 4.05 mils to the Pinellas County Property Appraiser for fiscal year 2019-20. The city have maintained a millage rate of 4.75 mils from 1988 to 1997. From 1998 to 2005, the millage rate was lowered to 4.65. In 2006, the millage rate was 4.6. In 2007, it was 4.0722. And in 2008 through 2019, for the 12th consecutive year, we're recommending that it's 4.05. The city is proposing this millage rate in order for the property appraiser to prepare required notices on proposed property taxes, which will be mailed to each property owner by August 19th, 2019. We must return the certification of taxable value to the property appraiser by August 2nd. The council may adopt a lower millage rate based on decisions at the budget work sessions or as a result of public hearings on the budget, which will be conducted in September. However, the council may not adopt a higher millage than the rate now being certified to the property appraiser. For a home assessed at $150,000, as a mathematical example, with a $50,000 homestead exemption, the ad valorem taxes paid to the city would be $405. Staff recommends that council authorize the city manager to certify the proposed millage rate of 4.05 mils per thousand to the Pinellas County property appraiser.
Thank you. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
No, it's great.
No, this is great.
Yep.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 12, authorize city manager to re-advertise the elevator installation at the reverse osmosis water treatment plant, which was on 2019-014 invitation to bid. It is also a new agenda item, which you mentioned beginning of the meeting. The build out of the reverse osmosis water treatment plant, or ROWTP, second floor for additional office and meeting space is underway. The build-out project is in the 2018-19 capital improvement program. The installation of the elevator is required to meet Americans with Disabilities Act and the Florida Building Code requirements. The ROWTP elevator project was previously advertised and bid together with the City Hall Elevator Modernization Project, which is 2019-009 ITB. A single bid was received and the portion of the work at the ROWTP exceeded budget funds. The ROWTP elevator installation specifications have been revised, and if approved, Administrative Services will advertise 2019-014-ITB, seeking bids for the project.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
The new elevator.
Got to get an elevator.
What
All
was the budgeted amount for the original bid?
I'm sorry?
What was the original bid?
$285,000.
Ended up getting one that exceeded
Well, that was the bid
That was the
just
bid.
for that. We awarded for the City Hall modernization. This is a build out for a new one. The hole is there, we need to put the elevator
Yeah, it's
in.
been there from the time we built it. All right, any other discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 13 is quasi-judicial, and as such, I would ask the city attorney if he would be so kind.
Item number 13 is approve SP 19-02, development of 3,278 square foot building to consist of a drive-through car wash and a standalone ATM. This being a quasi-judicial hearing, anybody that's going to speak on this, if you could stand up, raise your right hand and be sworn under oath. Swear that the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Okay, so city staff will make a presentation.
Marie Daphne, Planning and Redevelopment Director. This is a request for approval of the tidal wave car wash and SunTrust ATM site plan. It's located at 3500 Tampa Road. It's at the old SunTrust Bank site, which will be demolished to construct the car wash and the ATM. It's located on the corner of Tampa Road, west of Oakley Boulevard, north of Pepper Tree. It is on ROR, residential office retail, which is permitted, permits a car wash and a standalone ATM. It's also located along the Tampa Road corridor, so there's additional requirements as far as architectural standards, landscaping. So this request is to construct a 3,278 square foot drive-through car wash and the standalone SunTrust ATM. As I said, they're both permitted in the ROR district. The applicant is providing enhanced landscaping along Tampa Road. There's also a water feature at the corner of Tampa Road, so that's really going to enhance the project. There's 2 access points that will remain along Oakley Boulevard and Pepper Tree to access the site. So the property will be platted into 2 lots, one lot for the ATM and one for the car wash. There'll be a canopy over the vacuum bays, and as I said, are keeping on the access points, and there's also a water feature. So the elevations are, it's a mixture of stone, stucco, colors are blue, ivory, and tan. There's a pitched roof, a cupola, and the windows don't extend to the floor. So that will be, when you're looking at this, it's facing Tampa Road, so the entry into the car wash is going to be at either end, and it won't face Tampa Road. This is a rendering of the project. You can see the landscaping along Tampa Road. I just wanted to point out that signage is not really what has been permitted yet. It'll be a separate permit. They'll have to provide like a monument sign. So there's another rendering. It shows the canopy in the back and the location of the car wash and the ATM on the site. I believe this is another rendering of another site that they have in another location, but it kind of gives you an idea of the landscaping and, you know, the canopy over the vacuum bays. And that's an entryway. You can see the brick and stone facade. So I think it's rather attractive for a car wash. The SunTrust ATM, they complement the title car wash. There's enhanced landscaping also, and there'll be a cross-access easement between the two uses. So staff is recommending approval of the tidal wave car wash and the SunTrust standalone ATM site plan. And if there's, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, and if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Questions?
The applicant is,
Discuss it or
No,
just?
this is where,
Just questions
just
at this
questions
point.
of staff.
Okay, I do have one question. I really like the enhanced landscaping. Does that mean that the builders or owners are doing above and beyond what we
Yes.
are asking?
in keeping with the temporal corridor requirements
Oh,
of
even
enhanced.
more, they're doing even more. And then the water feature, I didn't see that on the picture. I'm just
It's
curious.
kind of hard to see. I think the site plan kind of shows it. You can
Yeah,
see
I
there
couldn't
the site plan, but we don't really have a picture of it.
Okay.
Hold on a second. No, you can't yet.
So he can go
Okay.
into more detail with that. Yeah.
Okay. That's
So the applicant's here if you would like to ask him any questions.
Okay, so the applicant has the opportunity to make a presentation at this point, and then we'll take comments from the public. And sir, if you could step forward, state your name and your relationship to the project, and present any information you wanted to present to the council.
My name is Chris Ferrari. I'm the developer for the project. Thank you for the presentation. Thanks for us being here. We're excited about being partners of the community. We've spent a lot of time on this site, and right now we are anxious to get started. Hopefully we want to build in August is kind of our projected timeline. You know, as discussed, we do, on all of our properties, we plant way over than what's required from the city municipalities. It's something with our brand standard, as well as provide a lot of architectural enhancements on our building. Our building is usually run between, you know, $1.8 and $2.5 million, and so we spend a lot of money and heavy investment to make sure we have a quality product. The site is no exception to that as well. We spend roughly anywhere from $600 to $1 million just on the site, depending on how big it is. We, as you noticed in the presentation, we have large canopies. We think it's important to have all of our customers properly shielded from the sun and heat. And so we found that in our business that provides a pretty good customer loyalty program because they enjoy being at our washes. A couple of things to note on the business front. These are not unmanned washes. We have somebody there at all times who operate from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. At any given time, we have a minimum of 2 people on staff full time at the location, but average is about 4 to 6 people a day running either from part-time or full-time positions. Given the success of our business, we often find that the manager of that site often can succeed a 6-figure income from this particular location. So we're always very excited to see our employees do well, make a lot of money. We have a lot of kind of incentive bonus programs with our employees. We have a big customer loyalty base. We typically see anywhere from 2,500 to 4,000 people join our club memberships, and our retention rate is very high. We see about 70 to 75% of our revenue come from our club members and about 30% from just passerbys, people who haven't yet joined. So given we've been around since 2004, we have roughly, I think right now, 27. It's hard to tell because we have some open up all the time, but whenever I started with the program and building them and partnered with the Tidal Wave company out of Georgia, They had about 20, and right now we're like 44 to 46 on the books. So it's growing pretty rapidly, and we have a nice brand recognition. We go Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, moving into Virginia, moving into Texas, moving into Oklahoma, and myself and my partner, a guy named Rick Olson. He actually is a resident of Florida from Fort Lauderdale, lives in Pace at the moment, but he and I are the ones kind of pioneering the expansion in the Florida market. Just to note, this is not a franchise company. This is all corporate run, managed, and what we do is we do investment partners, development partners with the corporate headquarters, and they maintain and operate the location. So you get the same level of quality, same level of care, attention that you would at the actual corporate level, because this would be a corporate run store. I'm here to answer any questions and provide any insights.
Any questions?
I have a couple. So I'm just curious about the water feature, because I think that's kind of nice that you're going above and beyond on the landscaping and putting a water feature in. So that's going to be up by Tampa Road.
It is. So right now it's planned on the landscape plan. It's actually positioned right as you enter the car wash. So I don't know if you have a site plan. You can
Right, I know that area.
Okay.
So
one thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to make it so big and distracting that it's necessarily going to distract passerby from the road. So it's really geared for if you're on Tampa Bay, you can see it. It'll look nice, but it's really geared for people going into the car wash as like a nice decorative feature. It's a lower level kind of waterfall. It's actually stone stumps over a bed of rocks, and so the water goes up and kind of trickles down.
So your members would like that. And I really like the color. I'm the resident color person on the council, so I really like the blue. And the only other question I have for you is I read up on some articles that you guys are known to hire autistic people.
Yeah, so that's an important note. So the founder of Tidal Wave, Scott Blackstock, and also my partner here in Florida, Rick Olson, the way they've met a long time ago is they both have autistic children. And so Scott started the business. Originally, he's a chemical engineer. He actually chemist his own formula for the car wash itself. But his whole motive into getting into the business was, how do I create a revenue stream for his kid, and how do we build that? And then it kind of had so much success, it kept growing, and people else wanted to be involved. And then Rick Olson, my partner, also met Mr. Scott and then kind of understood what his true motives were, liked it so much, he wanted to get involved because he has an autistic son as well. So that's how the bond happened. That's how the whole thing started. And so one thing that they also do is every third Friday of September, where there's 100% of the proceeds go to charitable charities, either from with the region or the municipality it's in, but it's a dedicated fund.
Nice, thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Is there any other questions?
Just one. Can you tell me more about the recycled water system?
Sure.
And any byproducts that might run off?
So we have it's actually 4 interceptor tanks. If you imagine like a restaurant has those big kind of 1,000 to 4,000 gallon grease interceptors. Mm-hmm. We have 4 of them stacked together, all underground. 100% of the runoff from the car wash itself gets collected and then put through the interceptor. Mm-hmm. And then also it does honestly collect some rainwater as well. So all of the equipment that's used to clean the undercarriage, tires, all the jets that basically blast water on, I would say not the paint sensitive areas of the vehicle, use 100% recycled water. That recycled water goes through a filtration system and a UV, I'm not a scientist or anything, but there's some blue lights and it kills all the bacteria.
Scientific enough for me.
Yeah, so it's clean water, it's recycled. All the runoff, we actually slope as you enter the tunnel, and as you exit the tunnel, there's a slight grade. So any kind of vehicles that may drag a whole lot of water, or things that you may think it gets out of the tunnel, it actually is graded to go back into the tunnel. Okay. So we like that because being a car wash, you have to make sure we keep our site and our buildings very clean. If it looks dirty, then people aren't going to want to come wash their cars, and that's kind of the perception of the brand, right? Mm-hmm. And so, one thing that we do, if it's raining or if there's dead time, the employees are instructed to clean the tunnel. They pressure wash the site. We use concrete everywhere, not asphalt, so we can pressure wash the concrete and keep it nice and clean. All of these sites are crowned with curb and gutters that go to underground systems. So it's designed, and our engineer, Dave, is here to answer those kind of specific questions if you need. But it's designed to stay clean, stay dry, and push cars through very quickly. One thing you can notice on the site plan, we have an elongated queuing lane, so that way we can actually stack a large amount of cars without encroaching on the access drives off of our site. So,
One question, overall, total cost for the project with the landscaping, the new building, what do you have an estimate of what it would cost?
right now on this particular site, I'm going to spend, I think my number is at 5.5, 5.6 million. And we've already procured the site. We are the owners of the land. So we are very committed to doing the project. There is, friend, again, Dave here can explain further if there's any questions, but there are some extreme challenges, I would say, with storm drainage and retention. So we spent most of our time preparing for this site to account for stormwater. That's probably been the bulk of the effort here. And so I think we've done about as good as job we can. So.
Any other questions? Tom?
Okay, thank you. So we now have the opportunity for the public to speak. So if there's anybody that wants to speak on this agenda item, you can step forward, tell us your name, and have you make sure that everyone.
Those four right there were sworn in, I believe.
Okay. So one at a time, please.
Robert Carmen, 1800 Buttonwood Drive, Oldsmar. I've lived in Harbor Palms for 45 years. This is not the place for a car wash. We never discriminated against the bank. We never gave them a hard time about the office buildings that are there. But a car wash creates a tremendous amount of traffic, number one. It's going to be on Oakleaf Boulevard or Pepper Tree Drive. Neither one of those roads are capable of handling that kind of traffic. That's the first problem. The second problem is that car wash is going to do nothing but at nighttime draw people that are undesirable to our neighborhood. We have, Harbor Palms has been neglected for 50 years. I've lived there 45 of them by this city. I've been told by this city time and time again we're going to get reclaimed water. I've been told time and time again that the streets were going to be improved, or the drainage was going to be improved, or, they were going to do something that was going to be fantastic for Harbor Palms. None of that has ever transpired. And this is not the project for Harbor Palms. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak on this agenda item? Yes, sir.
Bob Harvey, 419 Tangerine Drive, Oldsmar, Harbor Palms. I apologize, I didn't have a chance to sit down and write a speech, so I'm going to ramble probably a little bit. I've lived in Harbor Palms since 1980. When we first came to Harbor Palms looking for a house, my wife and I had lived in Florida for about 6 months. We decided this was a place we wanted to live because of the easy access to both Hillsborough and Pinellas. When we pulled into the subdivision the very first time, of course it wasn't completed at that time either, we pulled into the subdivision and the first thing I saw was that office building that wasn't sitting on the frontage road, but was sitting on Pepper Tree, Bank Road. And I asked the real estate agent, what is that and why is it sitting there? Why isn't it up here? To this day, I can't tell you why, because it was there. I knew there was nothing I could do about it, so I didn't waste my time, trying to find out what's going on. But it was just odd. The bank was always there. When we moved in, the bank was there. It's been at least 5 different banks since we've been here. Anyway, now you want to put a car wash in there. First of all, my first concern about the car wash is they talk about a drive-up ATM, and then they have a crosswalk where people can park at the other side in the car wash parking lot and walk across traffic to get to the ATM. This doesn't sound like a very wise idea to me, but you know, I mean, I'm no expert, but I don't think mixing pedestrian traffic and car traffic would be a wise idea if you don't have to. But if I'm wrong, but that's the way it looks. It looks like when you first turn into off of Oakleaf, you turn to the right immediately, then you go kind of around a circle, and the ATM is on the other side. And then you can go back out either the same way you came in, or you can continue on around and go into the car wash or go out on Pepper Tree. Again, like I said, I just don't think it's a good idea to have, if you can avoid pedestrian and automobile traffic, I think it's a good idea to do so. If this is going to be simply just a drive-in and nothing else, then I don't see any problem with that, you know. Also, I mean, I realize that this plan meets all the criteria, meets everything, and so I know there's not anything that, you know, that I can say, don't do this because of this, because it's basically meets all the criteria. The entrance to a subdivision, to me, is not a location that you should put a car wash, especially one with a canopy. If you drive toward Tampa, you know what I'm talking about. There's a car wash on the left-hand side of the road before you get into, or right beside Walgreens. Just drive by and look at it. Theirs is not going to be square. Theirs is going to be oblong, or not oblong, but rectangular. But still, it just having it just doesn't, an awning, a tent, it just doesn't fit, in my opinion, with what's going on there. Also, the other problem that I'm concerned about, I know that you have to recycle the water. There's a thing in here that says that there's going to be a consumption, and I want to clarify what they mean by consumption of, let me find it, 5,055, okay. Anticipated water consumption, 5,799 gallons per day. Now, is this consumption that's going to be runoff, or is this consumption that's going to be recycled?
Mr. Harvey, first of all, you can make your statements, and then we'll take notes, and I think the applicant will understand, but I need you to make your presentation. Right. And then he'll answer your questions.
And that's one of my questions. That is one of my questions is, you know, what is this water going to run off? Is this 5,799 gallons going to run off, or is it going to be recycled? If it's going to run off, it's going to be a major problem, because anytime that creek fills up, it backs all the way up into my backyard, because the drainage into that creek is in my backyard on Tangerine Drive. That's really all I have. Like I said, I just don't see the entrance to a subdivision being an appropriate place for a car wash. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak on this agenda item? Yes, sir, if you'd step forward. Were you sworn in earlier?
Sorry?
Were you sworn in?
No, I wasn't sworn in.
Okay, step up here. I'm going to go ahead and get you sworn in then, sir. If you could raise your right hand, be sworn under oath. You swear the testimony about to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, if you could state your name and address, please.
Joe Sullivan. I'm at 1812 Elmwood. It's in Oldsmar. The project, by the way, is beautiful. It really is. It's nice. I'll agree with you all that. But I agree with these guys. It's not the right place. At that point, if you, and I'm sure you've all been at Curlew and Tampa Road, is where they converge. People driving fast there, that is not going to be good. That area is more suited for maybe a park or so. As much as I like your project, and I do, the job of these fellows right here is to help you find a suitable place in Oldsmar that would be more suitable. That place is not suitable, as these fellows pointed out. And what I've seen the council do is fall over yourselves to approve it. But in fact, you should be helping this fellow find a more appropriate place. That's not the place to do it. That should be a park, a runoff, whatever, maybe a bank or something like that, but it is not suitable for a car wash. Just absolutely, positively not. And you can't change it once you make that decision. And I'm wondering if there was any discussion as to what you might put there. Could the city buy it? Is that appropriate? I'm not sure what your alternatives are, but I haven't heard any other alternatives except, a car wash. That's all I've heard. It's not a good place for it. These fellows are absolutely correct about it. And I think your job is to help this gentleman here, which they put a lot of work into it, find a place in our community to put that car wash, which I'd like to use, but I wouldn't use it in my neighborhood. That's all there is to it. It's just not right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? Were you sworn in earlier?
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Name and address, please.
Sharon Chrissy, 509 Tangerine Drive, Oldsmar. Okay, I've been on nextdoor.com. We've had a very long conversation about the car wash. Is there anyone else here? You, Amy?
Yes. Ma'am, you need to direct your attention to the
I'm
commission,
sorry.
council
Okay.
members. Thank
No,
you.
I was just wondering if there were other people here, hopefully, that are not sure about this. I don't like the idea of pulling into my neighborhood with the car wash right there in the corner. I know a lot of people aren't too happy with it either. The car wash looks beautiful, the landscaping looks beautiful, but like Keith said before, I don't want a car wash on the corner of my entrance when I pull in. Would any of you? Would you? No?
They can't answer your questions. I'm sorry.
Okay. I've never done this before.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
People were concerned about the water also. Now, the gentleman said it was recycled. I don't remember if he said it was completely 100% recycled. They were worried about transients, while it's closed. One of the neighbors was concerned about the noise of the fan in the car wash. I don't know if that would be loud or... Okay, there were other things. I know there were. I guess it would bring quite a bit of extra traffic in and out. I don't know how busy car washes are, actually. But, I don't know, people in the neighborhood, I was hoping there would be more people here, like I said, but aren't too happy about it. So, I don't know if this... It doesn't seem like it's a done deal yet because we're talking about it, but I wanted to know also if there were other businesses that were, thought they would like to use that property or interviewed or, however you do it. Because we didn't hear anything about that either. So, anyway, I just wanted to say I wouldn't be too happy if it was put there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any else that would like to speak? Okay, come on forward, please. Were you sworn in?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Your name and address, please.
My name is Amy Martin, and I live at 430 Tangerine, Oldsmar, of course. I actually was coming so I could see the presentation to see how the layout was, because the biggest concern is the amount of traffic, particularly coming in off of Oakleaf, simply because there is a four-way stop that most people don't bother to adhere to the four-way stop to begin with. Some will just run right through it, and they're concerned with, if that's people living in your own neighborhood who don't adhere to a four-way stop, what about people who are actually coming to use a car wash? That being said, and again, noise from the fans, not understanding, well, how was it going to be laid out, if it's coming which way? And since I was able to see the signs today, and I see that it's actually running, the entrance and exit are actually running perpendicular or parallel, actually, with Tampa Road, wouldn't that then affect the one home that actually is right next door? I mean, because no matter what, if that's the entrance, you still would have the fans from the exit that still have to blow back in through the tunnel And that one home, that severely would impact their property value, because you do have a home. I mean, there's a small little canal that has tons of garbage in it, which I would assume any company coming in, that would prevent the garbage then now being in the waterway. However, you're going to have quite a bit from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, and especially trying to leave for work, around 8 o'clock in the morning. That is a big difference as far as people coming in and out of that. And it's not just the Harbor Palm subdivision. You also have East Lake Oaks right on the other side. So it really is a shared entrance to two subdivisions, although that's not the primary entrance for East Lake Oaks. So, but that being said, if it's running in the direction that it is, facing, running parallel with Tampa Road, that puts either the entrance or exit of the tunnel right next to a home. I mean, all you have, at best is maybe 200 feet, if that, to their garage. I mean, it's not a whole lot in any shape or form. And I know that there is another individual who unfortunately appears he wasn't able to make it tonight, who is very concerned about the noise level. I would just think I would be now seeing the direction of it, because I misunderstood thinking that it would be running more along the lines of coming in off of Pepper Tree, that would be the way that it would be positioned on the property. And seeing that it's not that way, that directly impacts the home right next to it, because there is a house right next to it. So that would be my concern with that, as far as, to the builder or developer, as far as switching any potential layout on the parcel, because there is a house there. And I'm just not sure how, yeah, that would definitely, as far as it being in there, yeah, there is another way to go out. As far as any of us in Harper Palms, there is another way to actually leave. But how many accidents have to happen before anything is done at that four-way intersection? Because typically that's an FDOT requirement before anything is actually done for any sort of lights. That's certainly above the city's hands. I'm only concerned with that because we, even on Pepper Tree, there had to be speed humps put in to slow people down as far as the traffic. But one of those is right in front of that particular home that I'm referring to, and I just can't see if a exit is right there, right next to their property. That would be more of a concern. That one would have to be severely impacted as far as their property value. The rest, I'd rather see something go in there instead of it being vacant. I've only lived there for 4 years. It's been vacant the whole time I've been there. I'd like to see something go in. But maybe there could be a tweaking of the drawings of positioning. And I don't know, again, square footage wise, if that's possible or not, but that severely impacts that one particular homeowner on Pepper Tree Drive, because their home is right next to it. All you have is that trash-filled little canal that is between their property and the SunTrust location. So that was the only thing I wanted to mention with that, other than obviously the noise and any noise concern with that as far as the blowers. I can't imagine how loud they are, but I haven't been standing next to one in a long time either. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There being no other people from the public to speak, Maureen, is there any type of summary that you wanted to make? And there were 3 questions that I took down. Maybe you want to address those. First of all, they're talking about, you've heard witnesses talk about the concurrency test statement provisions, specifically item number 5, anticipated water consumption, 5,799 gallons per day. That was raised by Mr. Harvey. Do you have a response to that question as to, or should we ask the applicant, what is going to happen to that 5,799 gallons of water that's being used on the site?
Refer to the applicant on that one.
Okay. So another question relative to fan noise. Do you have any information on that that you can help with?
I do have some, but I will defer to him. He'll be able to explain it a little bit
Okay.
in more
and-
detail.
And then lastly, there was more than one statement relative to the traffic and the traffic count. Can you address that for the council?
Based on the trip generation, I think it's 38 peak hour trips
That's what it
for
said.
this use. So, I mean, that's well below, I think, even what the bank was calculated at.
Okay, so the bank had more than 38.1 vehicles
believe
per
so.
peak hour?
I believe so. And I just wanted to reiterate, it's a permitted use. It's not a conditional use. It permits gas stations, convenience stores, car washes, etc. Previously, they asked, did we entertain anything else? And yes, the owner of the property brought forth a plan for, I think it was a gas station at first. And the next plan was for a Circle K with pumps and a car wash. So it was very intense. And I know a car wash doesn't seem like that would be really appropriate for this location, but I think that the applicant really worked with staff as far as the architecturals and how, it was laid out on site, and it's like the least intense use that's permitted.
Sir, can you step forward then? There were 3 questions that were raised. Planning Department has addressed at least the traffic count. There was a question in regard to the concurrency test statement that is in the packet referring to the use of 5,799 gallons per day of water. There was a specific question by Mr. Harvey as to what's going to happen with all that water. Is it going to be retained on site?
It becomes potable water, which then gets filtered back through the reclamation system that I described earlier, and then reused on the undercarriage and tires. From there, then it goes back through another interceptor, and then ultimately discharged not on site for runoff, but through, I guess, potable water. Is that the right discharge? I'm sorry, I'm not an engineer. But it does get reused and then gets filtered again. And it goes through interceptor to kind of remove any kind of grease and dirt. That gets pumped out and cleaned through a service that we, I guess, go under contract with, the company that comes and pumps that material out of the grease interceptor. So what goes in, it's just like a restaurant. It goes back right into a potable water system, so,
Okay.
wastewater system.
Wastewater. So then there was a question about, does any of that water make it into that creek?
No, not from the wash itself. Now, any kind of rainfall, obviously, hits the site and then goes to our storm system, which I believe there's some stormwater management criteria that are designed as well, both on, I guess, above ground retention, dry retention ponds, and then also underground system.
All right, there was a question also about fan noise. Can you address that?
Sure. So the bulk of the decibels that people would typically complain with a car wash is actually from the vacuums, more so than like any equipment in the tunnel, because the tunnel it's a full building. It's not open air. It's a fully enclosed system. So most of that noise, any kind of machine noise is held into that building. Now, would there be some decibels that go outside the building? There are. I'm not going to say there's not any kind of noise, but it would be very minimal. One thing that we've done to combat the vacuum noise, though, because that's usually the high horsepower motors, is you can see in the site plan, but we actually construct a fully enclosed little building that goes with that canopy. And so it's got a roof, it's got 4 walls, door. All the motors and the things that generate the noise goes in that building. And we do that to deaden the sound. So the only thing that goes out of that was the hoses that then go to the cars and they drop down from the canopy itself. So with that, we've been very successful at maintaining that noise control.
Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to tell the council before we close the public hearing?
I think there was, I know it's not a question from y'all, but from the crowd, there's a question about the positioning of the building. And I'm going to try to remember as much as I can, because we went this with the planning department months ago. But there is definitely a fill restriction requirement. And given the contours of the site, it's a little higher towards the road. And then also with, I think there's a 30, and then also a portion of the site has a 40-foot setback off of Tampa Road. And it prevents us from going perpendicular. And I believe, and I can't be 100% certain with this, maybe Mary knows the answer to it, but I think there was a design ordinance that restricts the opening or the entrance of the tunnel to be perpendicular to Tampa Road. So there's basically a multitude of factors on the site that physically constrained us, or design ordinance wise constrained us from going perpendicular to the road, and we went parallel. So, and we've done our best with vegetation to screen any kind of entrance and exit of the tunnel to mitigate any kind of visual concerns that might be.
Does the council members have any other questions of the applicant?
I do, Mayor.
Go for it.
You did mention the hours are 8 to 8, correct?
8 to 8.
So you're closed at 8 p.m. Okay. And the other question I have is the drainage. So no water will go into that creek.
Well, again, from the wash itself, no. Now, from site stormwater, obviously.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the water that's in your car wash is not going to drain into that.
Not to my knowledge. I mean, okay.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had, Mayor.
I have a question. First, I do want to thank all of the citizens that spoke, and Tom addressed most of them, but one that was brought up a couple times is their fear of transients. Are you going to have any kind of video surveillance? Are you going to have any kind of security features? Are there going to be lights at night? Is there anything that you do to address that?
We do. Cameras is a big part of our business. People complain a lot from machines scratching cars and denting, so we make sure we document everything. So I think our security camera package is predominantly focused on the building, the entrance and exit itself, but we do have site security cameras all throughout the property. So all premises of the property is surveillanced and monitored. As far as site lighting, we do have site lighting. We will have under canopy lighting. And not to a point where it's a nuisance, and we maintain proper photometric calculations on the property lines. But to answer your question specifically, yes, we have security. Yes, we have lighting.
Councilmember Gannon.
My question was about the lighting. It was answered. Thank you.
Okay. We have no other questions of the applicant. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to take here, we're going to move to council discussion. And so at this point, I will start with Councilmember Gannon. Right. It's a free car wash right now.
The pre-car wash, the council wash. This is a corporate entity that owns this land. They and only they can decide what to put there as long as it meets our code. It's been that property has been zoned this way for a long, long time. It abuts, of course, the roads, other commercial establishments, trees, the small retention pond area on Stephanie. I heard staff and the applicant describe ways in which the noise could be contained or reduced to the extent that the noise exists. The traffic pattern did not increase such that it required a mobility management plan. Potentially even less traffic than the bank. I would hate to see a gas station or any other more intense use be there. I appreciate the additional foliage, the beautification to that area, removing the vacancy that has been there for an extended period of time. And as was pointed out by some of our citizens, it meets the code. You know, there's risk to the city in not approving something that meets our code. And this does. I think the building itself is rather nice looking for a car wash. I've actually seen a couple of these out of state in different prior travels. I appreciate the recycled water usage. I appreciate the enhanced landscaping. I also appreciate that there's no change to the existing access points. I don't think it's smart to put in access on Tampa Road. I appreciate as well the potential for additional jobs, potentially 1 or 2 higher paying jobs. I think that's a really big bonus to us. I do appreciate the concerns of the citizens that are here tonight. But it's not, in my view, appropriate for us in this instance to turn this down for fear of what else could potentially be there. I don't want to see a gas station there. Is a car wash my favorite thing? Of course not. But it's in conformity with our code.
Thank you. Councilmember Saraki.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. First of all, the sheriff, he just left, but I live on Split Fork Drive, and Bob, you know I have property across the street from you on Oakleaf. Anyways, the sheriff's department hangs out there every day. When I'm traveling down Split Fork or up Oakleaf, the sheriff's department is at that property every single day. 2, 3, 4 cars every day. Every time I go by, someone's there.
So that's where they're at.
That's where they're hanging. So that was one thing I wanted to bring up. And then the other thing is, the only concern that I have is that property, Marie, it floods. And some of these, the residents are talking about that, and I'm concerned too, because when that, like what's doing out here right now, that whole south part of Pepper Tree is flooded. That's the only concern. And Chris did mention that they are gonna build up the property, but I wanna make sure that the drainage is properly gonna drain so that street doesn't flood anymore. That's the only concern I have.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Norris.
Again, Bob, Robert, Joe, Sharon, and Amy, thank you for your comments. When I moved to Oldsmar 20 years ago, I had no idea what I was in for. I came because it was a small town, and I loved my little tiny house and all the land and all the beauty, and now I am completely surrounded by 3-story structures, and, and all I can do is know that I couldn't afford to buy the property. I couldn't afford to put what I wanted. I couldn't afford to make it a park. I had no say. That being said, I'm looking at the positives, and I am also concerned about the flooding because I've got that issue at my house with all these 3 stories. You do have that huge roof that all the water is going to shed off of that roof. So hopefully you have put that in your consideration for your storm drainage, that these homes aren't going to flood, because a lot of the flooding does happen shedding right off those roofs and the non-pervious surfaces. But I agree with Councilmember Gannon. We don't own the property. We can't make it a park. We don't own the property. I'd love to have everything that's vacant in Oldsmar be parks. I would love it. But it's just not, and I love that you give money to charity. I love that you hire autistic individuals, and it's not I can't remember what Marie said, but the Circle K with pumps and a car wash, that would be terrible. And then what was the other thing? I don't know if I'm allowed to ask what the other thing was. No.
Yeah.
Okay, but, and it is, they did go over and above the aesthetics on it. Would I want a car wash at the entrance of mine? No, but I also don't want 3-story structures surrounding me in my neighborhood, but that's the reality of ownership of land. So that's.
Thank you. Thank you. I've only got a couple of comments. Number one, as it's been pointed out up here, we don't own the property. It's not a scenario in which it's city-owned land where we can decide up here. We're only selling the property subject to it being this. We don't. That's not the discussion up here. The discussion up here is, to some extent, a formality. Does it conform? Does it meet our code? Property owners, just like citizens have a right to do on their property what meets code. Whether I like what you're doing or not, if it meets code, you own the house, you own the land. It's your right to do it. And commercially, the same rules apply. And when you don't apply them equally in the way they're supposed to be applied, not only do you have problems, potentially with liability to the city, but beyond that, you also send the wrong message that it doesn't matter what our code says, you shouldn't feel safe investing in property in the city of Oldsmar. I will say this, though, to the credit of our staff, to the extent that we're able to shield, for lack of a better word, from something that would be considered very undesirable to the people who live around there. Our staff does that. The fact that we've been able to shield to a certain extent, you know, a convenience store going in there that also had a car wash, that also had, you know, that is doing our job. And so I commend staff for taking that step and putting in that effort, because it's a very unpleasant thing for them to do, and they do their job well. I also want to commend staff and the applicant for the amount of additional investment that they're making in to beautify the property so that it's not an eyesore sitting out there. You know, it's commercial property on Tampa Road, which is up and down the highway. That's why there's commercial buildings there and commercial ventures there. That is where it belongs. And that's the way the city was set up long, long ago. And, you know, the problem with making wholesale changes, because I know some citizens think that, they'll say, well, why don't we change it so that we don't have that? Why don't we make a rule if it's real close to something residential that even though it's been commercial for 20 years, let's change it. So at least going forward. The problem with that is, just like we invest in buying our homes, when someone invests in buying commercial property, they have a reasonable right of expectation that they're buying it, and they're buying it knowing what the rules are, and you know they're willing to spend so much because of those rules. And so I only mention that because every now and then after we have a discussion like this, people say, well, why don't we change the rules? Well, that's why you can't just arbitrarily change them. It's like when we have a density talk sometimes as it relates to people who own their private property. And so, you know, what I would say is while certainly some of the residents, and we appreciate you coming out and talking, it's not a waste of time. And it's not a waste of time because staff is even more motivated to do their job when somebody comes with something that frankly is just gonna be a nightmare. And so, and I don't know why we didn't have a quorum at the planning board, but the planning board goes through the same pains as well. So in any event, I speak in favor of the project. And so with that, I'm going to end discussion. The chair will entertain a motion to approve. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I really should have a motion on the floor, but I just got in the moment. Sensing there's no other discussion, sensing you're ready to vote. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Councilmember Starkey?
Yes.
Councilmember Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Seidel?
Yes.
Site plan 19-02, development of 3278 square foot building to consist of drive-through car wash and standalone ATM passes with 4 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you. I'm going to hand it back over to the city manager then.
City manager, item 14.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 14 is request council approval to waive bid requirements and approve the purchase of a replacement pickup truck from Coggin Ford per the pricing terms and conditions of the Florida Sheriff's Association contract number FSA 18-VEH 16.0. This, excuse me, is a new agenda item. Parks truck number 623 was purchased in 2007, has met the end of its useful life cycle as the engine has failed and is no longer economically repairable. Currently, staff cannot fit inside of the existing vehicles when traveling to job sites, requiring them to utilize the Kubota cart for alternate transportation. Additionally, the requested replacement truck will be used to pull the large trailers required to haul various mowers and equipment throughout the city. Coggin Ford has provided a quote for the vehicle per the piggyback contract of $43,308. The funding for the replacement of this vehicle is in the Parks Department, part of the general fund budget. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Sensing none, sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
I want that truck.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 15 is request council approval for sole single source procurement purchase of Neptune Pro Read touch read meters, radio read meters, and registers under the 2019-015 advertisement for sole source bidding. City Council approval is requested to waive the bid requirement and award the contract for the purchase of Neptune Pro Read touch read meters, radio read meters, and registers to Sun State Meter and Supply Incorporated of Tallahassee, Alabama. Sun State Meter and Supply is the sole authorized Neptune distributor for sales, service, and warranty for the state of Florida. Notice of intent to single source was executed by the city under 2019-015-SS for Sun State Meter and Supply and was publicly advertised on June 24th, 2019. Cost of this purchase of the meters is not to exceed $100,000 for the remainder of the fiscal year is budgeted in the Water and Sewer Operating Fund budget, Division 143, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. When they're the only game in town, they're the only game in town.
Yeah.
Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 16 is authorize the city attorney to prepare an ordinance annexing 3625 Meriden Avenue in West Oldsmar, Section 1, Block 17, Lot 15, into the corporate limits of the city of Oldsmar. The property to be annexed is located in West Oldsmar, an unincorporated area of Pinellas County. The subject property is currently developed with a duplex. The city has annexed 237 of the 419 West Oldsmar parcels to date. This includes a former mobile home park, which was approved for 164 single-family attached dwelling development and is currently nearing construction completion. This is a request from the property owner to annex a property containing approximately 0.22 acres into the corporate city limits. Property is located in West Oldsmar, as previously mentioned, Section 1, Block 17, Lot 15. Parcel is contiguous to the Oldsmar municipal boundaries, and city services are available to the parcel. Access is available from Huron Avenue or St. Clair Avenue to State Road 580. City can provide water and sewer and has the ability to provide solid waste, fire, EMS, recreation, and library services when those services are required. Based on the above discussion, staff recommends that City Council authorize the city attorney to prepare an ordinance annexing West Oldsmar, Section 1, Block 17, Lot 15.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
One at a time.
I knew it was coming from someone. Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. That's it for you. All right, thank you. City clerk,
Oh, I don't have anything.
nothing tonight. City council, item number 17, approval of the tentative agenda for August 6, 2019. Does anybody wish to pull anything from the tentative agenda? Does anybody wish to add anything to the tentative agenda? The chair will entertain a motion to approve the tentative agenda as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Sensing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Don't forget, we need our poems next meeting.
Yes.
What's that?
Our poems next meeting.
Holmes, is that?
Poems.
Holmes, next meeting. All right, council comments. Before we start with council comments, we have a little bit for your entertainment pleasure. As some of you may know, that the city had a art contest. I think all of us actually got to judge it. I think Gabby was the only one who could not.
Recycled art
And
challenge.
so, Councilmember Norris put some photographs together that staff then took and put to a PowerPoint, so I will allow her to kind of set this up before we start really running it.
Okay, real quick, this was recycled materials into art, and people did teams and people did individuals. I wanted to honor everybody, not just the three winners, because the creativity is just amazing on what the staff did. So that is all I'll say until we see them, and then I can make my comments during council comments. So.
Very good. Run it.
Oh, it's nice that it includes who did each
Yeah.
one. I was
Yeah.
curious.
I was
So
wondering
some
who
of them.
did them.
The scrapyard for that
Desk.
stuff. Wonder who that is.
They took my desk.
Those were bicycle
Oh,
rims.
wow.
Bicycle rims.
I'm wondering who did that.
Yeah. Look at that. Cindy.
Very cool.
There's our
I just
20
want to know where all the court came from. That's,
Look at how cute the fairy houses are. Cool thing about this is there's wildflower seeds in this paper that once the paper gets thrown away, wildflowers will grow.
yeah.
That's cool.
Pretty cool.
Tells you a little bit about this meal.
And that's Deb. That's a hockey ball. Deb Paul.
That's amazing.
Those are buttons and resin. Isn't that
Oh
gorgeous?
my gosh, I didn't
Yep.
realize she was so talented.
Again, forged
Oh,
items
wow.
from the scrapyard.
What was that? What?
Look at this. This is paper mache from financial papers. These are financial budgets.
That I really liked that
Yeah.
one. That was one of my favorites.
Recycled paper.
Oh.
Yep, John.
Cool.
This we only saw a photograph of, but if we would have seen this in person, it probably would have blown us away.
Yeah, it was huge.
Was
Yes.
That's what we heard, yeah.
Yeah, all recycled materials.
Again?
You're scared.
See a theme there?
I see, I
And she
see
made the
a thing.
tables as well.
Were
from
they all
recycled
about
stuff.
drinking or just the one?
Very cool.
That's awesome.
And there's our.
I knew someone was gonna do it.
Those are awesome.
Okay, all, yes.
Those were very cool.
All
You guys were
welded
cool.
nuts and bolts and metal. There she is.
Yeah.
Beautiful tape. That's a beautiful.
Gorgeous.
My desk again.
And let's hear it for Ann. Okay, real quick, they're bottle caps. The winner down there. She collected bottle caps for a long time from a bunch of different people. Even the backing is recycled material. She went to Home Depot or Lowe's or something and got recycled wood. Everything in that piece is recycled, including the concept where it came from. So congratulations all, for
Very
everybody.
Good. Very good. Good job.
Thank you.
It was fun to do. It was fun to go judge. All right, so council comments. I'm gonna start with the vice mayor. That on the record after the last couple meetings.
Started with her.
I just started with her. It's the first time she had nothing to say, too.
That's awesome.
I love that.
That's funny.
Councilmember Gannon.
I do have a couple of things. I was unable to make the service today, but I wanted to make sure to convey my condolences, thoughts, and prayers to the family of Ed Manning. I was really glad that we had that moment of silence before the meeting today. A big congratulations to Cindy and Neil on their awards tonight. I think she left with her family as rightfully deserved. Congratulations to Ann and Nan and John for their submissions to the Recycled Art Challenge, but I agree that everybody who submitted something should be commended. Their creativity was incredible. It was a nice, tangible result from our sustainability initiatives. A big congratulations to our fire chief, Jason Schwabe, in the back all quiet over there, as well as to the new command staff for the promotions. Well done, well done. I wanted to wish a happy birthday to Al and to Dan and to Felicia. And I wanted to give a huge, huge shout out and thank you to Al and Nan and Jonna and everybody in Public Works, to Felicia, the people who responded on social media, every effort that went into responding to that water main disaster, a very dangerous disaster. Everyone who participated or helped on it, it should be commended. I am so grateful to our city staff that got everything back up and running in less than 48 hours, which is amazing. And a big thank you to Keystone Excavators as well, who helped us out. A terrible situation that could have become even worse had it not been for those on our staff and some of our contractors who intervened. And finally, just an interesting random story and encouragement to everybody to lock their doors. If you've ever wondered whether or not our deputies with Pinellas County Sheriff's Office know where you live, your phone number, I will leave you with no doubt. On Friday, last Friday, I got a call on my cell phone from an unknown number repeatedly. And I'm like, who is this crazy person calling me? And then all of a sudden I start getting Facebook messages from Deputy Eddie Martinez. And I'm like, what is going on? First, I thought I was part of something really special because I thought, Deputy Eddie is calling me instead of Al calling me to tell me that something happened. I was like, oh, this is it. I've made it. They're telling me something really important.
Yeah, we have a warrant for your arrest now.
Right. Katie, do you bank at Synovus? No, sir. What vehicle are you currently driving? My Toyota Camry. Where is your husband? Following me? I mean, I've got my kids in the car. We just finished eating, and he's like, I'm going to be at your house in about 90 seconds or so. I'm like, oh, Lord. I was like, what, did I do something? What happened? They said, there's a problem with your car. And unbeknownst to me, a colleague of Deputy Eddie was ready to like come bang down the door because apparently someone had stolen Kenny's tag off of his Tahoe in the parking lot behind the Tijuana Flats, the Bay Arbor Place there at Sunbelt Staffing, and gone and committed a crime at Synovus Bank right there in front of Applebee's.
Oh my goodness.
Pulled up the information about this individual who committed this crime. Lo and behold, it's a brown-haired woman about my height and build. So his Deputy Eddie's colleague, I regret that I cannot recall the deputy's name, but the deputy saw this picture, saw me on the car, said, she lives right around the corner. We got this buttoned up. Let's go. And Deputy Eddie says, whoa, let me just call her. Can I just call her real quick? And as it turns out, no, I was not out committing crimes on Friday afternoon.
Like the story.
But then we had a nice, fun laugh when I wasn't a suspect anymore. So if you're ever curious about the responsiveness and the professionalism and the abilities of our Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, I can assure you.
I don't know whether to be impressed with them or scared of you.
I don't know. I was like, whoa.
You must have been so scared.
It was kind of unnerving because I didn't, well, of course, he wouldn't tell me what was happening because they need to find out, they need to investigate what's happening. But they said as soon as they pulled up to the house and saw there was no plate on Kenny's truck, they knew what had happened. Because Kenny, we didn't even know. We didn't even realize. He just went and met us at the restaurant, and all of a sudden his plate was gone. And that's the same parking lot where Kenny called 911 2 months ago because somebody was trying door handles. So they were like, okay, what's with you? And to my husband, what's with you in the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office? But they are right there every time, as always. So we were grateful to entertain them for a few moments.
Great.
That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Interesting. Councilmember Norris.
She said a lot that I wanted to say. The art challenge was awesome. Congratulations to everybody. And I wanted, obviously, Jason, our next chief. Oh my goodness, our next fire chief. That is so exciting. And if the command structure that Al would like to put into place, we'll be having more promotions as well. So I hope that goes well. So welcome, chief. And yes, the service for Ed Manning was lovely. It was beautiful. So prayers go out to Sheila Floyd, the whole family. He did so much for this city. I wasn't personally on council. You were on council with him, I think, right?
No, actually, I wasn't. He
either?
replaced me.
He replaced you.
He replaced me when I broke my neck.
When you got hurt, right. But he did a lot for this city, so. And the public works, okay, so the boil water notice and everybody calling and the emails and everything else. I really like the email that we got that explained how exceptional the service was from like the public works, from even communications. And I have to point out that two of the people that were there the whole time were two of the three winners of the art challenge. So I don't know. Okay. Dan and John were like in this email, it's like they were there for the whole time and everything. So I'm like, and they won the art challenge. And I'm like, what do they have time to do
What
this?
do you think they got the materials?
Yeah, exactly. It's awesome, So it was really nice also to know that we didn't cause the problem, yet y'all found it and helped fix it. And before the 48 hours, and we didn't have to boil water anymore. I mean, it was awesome. So that, and I'm not going to, okay, yeah, the birthdays are Al and Dan. So Felicia, you're not yet. We get another council meeting before Felicia's, right?
No.
Oh, did I miss Felicia's?
She's the what, 27th?
She's.
I was close.
Oh, Al's 1926, so we have another council meeting.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. Happy birthday. And let's see if that's all that I got. What was in the email about communications. So all of the residents that called us, texted us, that went on Facebook and everything else, it was right away, they were answered. So that was really, really, to me, special that somebody was on the clock answering every single question, even if it was the same question asked the 50th time as East Lake Woodlands part of it. They answered it really nicely and thanked him for the comment. And then also the post of the art challenge, I got over 200 responses to the art challenge. So it just goes to show that when we have, when we have these nice things with our employees, that it really, people in this town appreciate it. So we still do have a small town feel here. And that's it.
Very good. Councilmember Saraki.
Thank you, Mayor. I only have a couple things. Chris, I'm looking forward to your car wash. Great presentation. Thank you. Jason, congratulations. I remember the first time I met you when I did my interview and I decided to run for city council, and I thought, who is this guy? Yeah. I never dreamed you'd be our fire chief, so congratulations. I just wanted to say, Ed Manning, I went to Ken Harris's, we were working the Pop Drop at Super Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
I left to go to Ken Harris's, and Ed Manning, he played the piano. I mean, I was completely blown away on his ability to play the piano. Then he sang, plus he got up and did a speech about Ken Harris, and I'm so glad I was there. But what I want to say is today, I wanted to say, Mayor, your speech was excellent. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to say that you did a great job getting up there and talking about the past of our city, the council members that were past, what they've done for our community, and I thought your speech was excellent. I wanted to commend you on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then congratulations to Ann on first place, all the art. I don't want to, everyone's been talking about that, but that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed being a judge. And then the last thing, my shout out here is to Chip Potts and the summer camp team. My two grandsons, my oldest grandson has autism, and Coach Leonard did an amazing job. He would come home at dinner time and talk about his adventures at summer camp, what you taught him. I've never seen him so excited about being at summer camp, and I just want you to know that I appreciate what you've done for my grandsons that week. It was fantastic. Thank you so much. And that's all I have.
How about the car wash?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right. I do have a couple of items. City Manager, can you give us any kind of update on the BMX track?
Essentially the same story. The testing is still underway. They're on schedule to give us a deliverable by the end of August. That hasn't changed. We have no progress since the last week in terms of what they've reported. They're still working on it.
And when is Gator Nationals?
February.
February. Good. Just figured I'd ask. All right. I do have a couple other things. Hey, I'm not going to say congratulations or happy birthday, everyone. If you deserve it, you got it. How about that? Okay.
There you go.
I will say one congratulations to the new fire chief, because that's a substantial accomplishment. So congratulations, sir. We expect great things out of you. You had some great competition there. We have a lot of good people in the organization. So if you are the selection as you are, then clearly you deserved it. And we expect greatness from you. So don't disappoint us. I do have a couple of things. I do want to give a short update on the horse trails research. We kind of talked about it up here and got the directive to go work on it. We attempted, Assistant City Manager Felicia and I attempted to go last week to check out Booker Creek Preserve. Kind of think of the potential areas that we have here, the comparative of being in a preserve versus a preserve. Let's see. That's public land out there. Let's see what they did, and they have a couple different options. And then it was a monsoon. So we punted because we didn't want to swim. And so we're going back out there this Friday and just kind of get a lay of the land. They have one trail that they've done a lot of improvements to, which is kind of where you look at some of the expensive way to go about it, and they have another trail that they've done nothing to other than it's a trail. And so they don't have any water stations. They don't have any, the people who go there are expected to bring their own water and so forth. So we're going to check it out and kind of start there. But that's just to give you an update. The next item, rain garden today. I thought that was pretty neat. I thought that was a pretty neat project. And Ashley did a good job, our sustainability coordinator. And I believe in sustainability, and I believe us investing in the environment. I really sincerely do. Sometimes I go, yeah, recycle it. I'm not one of those who are really probably the best at that. So I will say this, like, I learned something from it. And I appreciate that. And I think our citizens, I hope they go out and check it out. It's over at Mobley Bayou, because it's a cool idea to help with managing runoff a little bit. And we need that here. I mean, you know, we don't have to talk much about algae blooms. Everybody knows it. It's a scary thing for the state of Florida, but I just wanted to give some kudos to her and encourage our businesses, in particular, who might have where they own land, and also there's some potential grant money for them to do something. So if you're interested in it, contact our sustainability coordinator, and she will certainly put you on the right path. Water break comments. You know, when I said I really wanted a water feature here in Oldsmar, that was not what I was talking about. So we have to work on that communication thing a little bit. All joking aside, I do always appreciate the effort that our Public Works, and in this case also our contractor, put into jumping in there and solving a problem that wasn't ours necessarily. It's always ours, but wasn't caused by us. It's greatly appreciated. And I will tell you, the staff who worked on the communications was really, you know, appreciated by our citizens. And certainly, last but not least, I want to thank our citizens who, you know, look, it's a major inconvenience to have to boil water. And I don't know what it is, whether I'm the utilities mayor or something, but it's like not even 4 months, and it's the first boil of water order we've had since I've been on council that I can remember. So
Congratulations.
Jesus. So, and let me tell you, the former mayor called to remind me of that too.
Could have bricked it in.
But in any event, I do appreciate our citizens putting up with the hassle and being so understanding. We don't take it for granted. We're always going to err on the side of caution. Plus, we're required by law to do that. But even if we weren't, we'd do it anyhow. So there you go. Last thing I got, some of you might recall that past Mayor Beaverland came to one of our council meetings, and he floated an idea about us potentially building a Vietnam memorial out at Veterans Park. And he did what any good past mayor will do. He came with a great idea and then left and said, you guys go do it. So I had an idea. And it doesn't require any action from us because it's something that would ultimately come back to us, but I want to make you aware of it. All right, so I love the idea. You know, that park just gets better and better. So I thought, okay, so let me talk to the Veterans Board just a little bit and talk to their chairman. I spoke to John, and he liked the idea, and it's still going to go through the process. It needs to go to the Veterans Advisory Board and you know, work its way back to us. But I thought, you know, we need a good chairperson for this project to go work with them, and I understand also that our new VFW is really interested in a project like this. And then I thought, so who'd be a really good chair to represent the city? And then I thought, you know, it'd be better than one good chair, would be two good chairs, right? So I have taken it upon myself to ask these two individuals to co-chair representing the city, and that would be Mayor Beaverland, who had the brilliant idea, and also Mayor Beavis. So they have both agreed, and they are going to go work on this project and help raise money for it. And they're going to work with the Veterans Affairs Committee. And they're, you know, it sounds like I said, the VFW is very interested as a potential first real project for them. So, so we're going to put that in motion. What would happen for action? It would actually go through that process and then come back to us as a recommendation. But any feedback? Anyone got any opposition to that?
That sounds fantastic. What a great idea.
I didn't think you would. All right, so that's all I got. Hey, listen, I'm going to make a comment on something. It's an observation. I've been on council multiple years, on and off, and I appreciate the way that tonight's process went in particular way this council responded to what our responsibilities are. And I've been on council before when we clearly had a responsibility that, quite candidly, doing anything other than approving something was frankly irresponsible. And I watched it happen before, and it was because people weren't completely honest with what their responsibility was. And it was nice to see that this council handled it in such a way that is to be commended. So that's all I got. Kudos to y'all. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
No move.
I have a second.
Second.
Or do I have a second? I have a second. Does not require discussion. Session, you're ready to vote. All in favor signify by saying adjourn.
Adjourned.
We're done.